How do you know you have it? So what kind of symptoms do you have? Do you have a cough? Do you have a headache? Do you have a backache? Do you have what do you got? What are symptoms do you have? And by the way, and thanks to Tribulation Trump, and by the way, God named him Tribulation, we'll get to that as well. Thanks to Tribulation Trump, the hospital emergency rooms are running over. You go to the emergency room, they're going to turn you around. First of all, you're going to stand in line like you're waiting to see James Brown back in the 1970s at the Apollo. And then when you finally get up there, they're going to take your temperature and tell you to go home, because they're not going to be able to see you. Then hang around with all them sick people. You may have gone there thinking you had coronavirus. When you leave, you will have it. Stand around all them sick people at the emergency room. It's a mess. It's a mess. You better go to the prayer room. That's what I suggest. Anyway, but don't be afraid. So I pulled down this clip. I don't even know where I got it from. I pulled it down because these people were talking about they had it, got contracted, and they're getting better. And I want you to see that because I want you to feel the same way. A lot of y'all don't want to believe me, but I want to help you whether you believe me or not. So, Mr. Engineer, roll that clip because I want these people to see, well, you can get it, but you can get better. Roll that, Mr. Engineer, clip number, whatever it is.
Johns Hopkins University say more than 79,000 people worldwide who contracted the coronavirus have recovered. That's good news. This morning, we're hearing some of their stories. Our Dr. Tara Narulu is outside Lenox Hill Hospital in New York City, where 5 coronavirus patients have been treated. Tara, normally you'd be here at the table, but we're all practicing social distancing, but we always want to hear from you. So what are you hearing from people who've been diagnosed?
Yes, so we're hearing a variety of symptoms coming from the people diagnosed, ranging from fever to dry cough and shortness of breath. And everybody you're about to meet is also sharing their story of recovery.
Excuse me, but it feels like hell. I've had the flu before. It's not even comparable. The fever is so high that you hallucinate.
AN preferred we only use her initials. She described a bout with COVID-19 that's lasted for more than 2 weeks.
I'm still having a fever, but it's coming down slowly. I'm only at about 100.8 at the moment, which is a dramatic improvement.
Initially treated at a Seattle area hospital in early March, she was not offered a test for COVID-19, but says the medical staff were concerned.
And I could see them through the window when they were preparing to come in, and they were utterly panicked, and they had no idea what they were doing. It was unnerving, to be completely honest.
From home, AN dialed into a telehealth appointment and was promptly told to report to a clinic where she was swabbed in her vehicle and confirmed for COVID-19 in under 24 hours.
It was like a weight off my shoulders, honestly. It was like, I'm not crazy.
You'll know it. You'll know it if you got it.
Across the country and still hospitalized in Rome, Georgia, Clay Bentley used a baseball analogy to describe his current state of health.
I have felt like today that I've turned third base and I'm headed home.
He says symptoms developed a day after singing with his church choir 2 weeks ago. Diagnosed with pneumonia at a local hospital the next day, he was sent home.
4 days later, I was to the point I couldn't even get out of bed. I said, I feel like y'all sent me home to die. And I said, I can't even hardly move, and I can't breathe. I can't catch my breath.
Back at the hospital, he discovered several members of his church were there, too.
And I have since found out that there were other people in that choir that's in the hospital now with coronavirus.
Now in recovery, he credits faith and family.
This has made my family very close. I mean, they can't wait for me to come home. So, but we're going to have we will have a celebration very soon.
That feeling of isolation is a shared experience of the coronavirus survivors who spoke with us.
In fact, I had someone over this past Saturday night to play a board game, and that felt great.
Elizabeth Schneider believes she and a number of her friends contracted coronavirus while at a party in Seattle. She tested for COVID-19 after her symptoms had subsided.
When I had the most severe symptoms, it literally just felt like I had a different strain of the flu.
With a background in microbiology and through her own experience, she shared some advice for the anxious.
If we look at the long term here, I think things will improve, things will get better. They probably will get a little bit worse before they get better, but things will improve, life will go on, our lives will go on.
What we know is that 98% of people who are diagnosed with coronavirus will survive. And some survivors, like Elizabeth Schneider, who you heard about, are actually paying it forward. She's donating her blood to science so researchers can see if that blood can help provide a future treatment or even a vaccine.
Wow, that's nice to hear. I got to say, Tara, as unsettling as it is to hear the details, I actually think it's helpful.
Yeah.
Because you start, don't you find, guys?
Yeah, very
you start,
much so.
Everything that happens, I go, is this it? Is this it? Is this it? So the more details we hear, the better. So, Tara, what treatments are available now?
Well, it's interesting. So scientists are looking at a lot of different types of treatments: HIV medications, flu drugs, drugs that treat rheumatoid arthritis, and even chloroquine, which is a very old drug that we use to treat malaria. But the most promising candidate is a drug called remdesivir. It's being studied both in China and the United States in clinical trials. It is an antiviral that blocks the replication of the virus.
It's so interesting, Tara, what a broad range of symptoms these patients have all had.
Yes, and important also, some people are reporting GI or gastrointestinal symptoms, so it definitely can present in a variety of different ways, but most often the fever, cough, and shortness of breath.
All right, a couple of things here. One is that if you get coronavirus, you're going to know it because you will know you've never felt like this before. This will be something. This will be a dread and a misery that you are just unaccustomed to. It will identify itself as this is the first time you've ever felt like this. This will be something different from the flu. You've had that before. You've had a cold. You've had a headache. You've had those. You know what those are. And you feel awful. You feel miserable. You feel wretched. You feel like you want to jump off the top of a building or something with the flu or a cold. This is different, and you will know it. You will know there's something about this one ain't right. You've never felt like this before. That's number one. Number two is don't go online and buy stuff to cure it. You got 1,000 plus, by a factor of 1 million, pharmaceutical people that are setting up pharmacies out there now, selling you all kind of rabbit foot ideas. Get offline. Stop that. And then you got some of your friends who are herbalists and all that. They got every kind of herb for every kind of thing and they're gonna tell you to buy this, eat this, drink that, take that. You're gonna die fooling around with that stuff. Get offline. Get offline. Because one of the things about the Spanish flu and some of the other epidemics, even the Ebola virus, and going back to H1N1 and swine flu some time ago. The Google, even Trump lied the other day and said Google has set up a website where you can do self-testing. That boy lied. He lied on Google. The Google representative heard that they were sitting there, having a couple of drinks with their friends and heard Trump on Sunday saying Google has set up the Google. They said, who did it? They didn't do it. Stay offline. Stay offline looking for cures. Just don't. Everybody and all you people, especially herbalists, you don't even know what you're drinking. You could be drinking rat urine. Yeah, and it's guaranteed snake oil salesmen is what they are. And snakes don't even have oil. I don't know if you know anything about snakes. So, don't spend your money on that kind of stuff. And then the item number 3 is don't be afraid. That don't be afraid. That fear is worse than the thing itself. Listen. You have to reach a point where you got your house in order with Almighty God. Do that. Get your house in order with God. Now, if you don't know Him, then you need to come to church. You need to come to Jesus. But for those of you who do, get right with God. Get right with God and say, well, my balance sheet is right. If He wants me, He'll call me. But I ain't going till He calls. I ain't going on my own. I ain't going to sit there and lose sleep and think about I'm going to go. I ain't going if He ain't calling. He calls, He got to, but I ain't going if He ain't calling. I think that we need to be able to understand that. Let me say one final thing about this business of what I've heard. I'm no doctor, not in that regard, But I can tell you this, I think that the one thing that this coronavirus attacks is the respiratory system. It's your lungs. And as most viruses do, and people that die, they usually die because their lungs are not in good shape. If your lungs are in good shape, you're probably going to make it. I think there's some underlying things like if you have, diabetes, well, that can speed it along, but it's not a death knell, diabetes. But it can speed it along, so be very careful. Hypertension is another. And in terms of things that can speed it along, that can make it, that can give it some, the coronavirus will accelerate the sugar content of your blood, which it should not do, but it does for whatever reason. I don't know why. Or it can accelerate the pressure of your blood. I don't know why, but it does. And maybe it's because what it does, it attacks the lungs. It's a lung disease, quite frankly. And all these viruses, flu as well. And it clogs up a section of the lungs. It'll take a section of your left lung or your right lung, and it'll take, maybe 10% of it, and it will just cystic fibrosis it and make it black, and it's no longer functioning. It's no longer purifying air. So you get shortness of breath. Then you know there's something going on, because you can't breathe. Why can't you breathe? Because a segment of your lung has now been taken over by this virus, and it is shut down functioning. So your breath is short. And the more it progresses and multiplies itself in your lungs, the less you're going to be able to breathe. You got shortness of breath. So it's a lung disease. And if you don't have a shortness of breath, then you ain't got the coronavirus. You got something, I don't know what you got, but you ain't got that. Because that's what that bad boy does. It attacks your lungs. So I think one of the things that you might want to do if you're a smoker, if you don't smoke, and one of the reasons why so many people died in China is because most people in China smoke cigarettes. I don't know if you've ever been over there. I was over there twice. Everybody over there smoking something. Opium. Cigarettes too. But that's what you have to look for. First of all, if there's no shortness of breath, you're probably good to go. You're probably sick as a dog from something else, but it's probably good to go as far as the coronavirus is concerned. But if you get shortness of breath, look out. Say your prayers, do something. Start calling on Jesus, because that is one of the main ways in which people usually die from, and if you have a lung disease already, if you're suffering from emphysema or you got some other kind of lung problems, then, you want to be extra careful. But those are some of the things that I think that you want to be mindful of. And then the other thing, you want to stay away from Tribulation Trump. Stay away from him. And stay away from Trump supporters, because these people are crazy. I used to say, Pastor man, now you talking good. I'm always talking good. It's just that you ain't got enough sense to recognize that your own bias and your own racism and your own prejudice, when I say things that you don't like, your ignorance tell you I'm not talking the truth. But when I say things you like, then all of a sudden I'm a good Negro. No, I'm telling you the truth. Stay away from Trump and Trump supporters. Stay away from the Southern Baptist Church. Stay away from Fox News. Stay away from it. Oh, now I'm not such a good doctor anymore. I was talking about that respiratory disease. Oh my God, why don't they tell us this on television? I was telling you, don't buy all these online herbs. So why don't they tell us that on television? The moment I start telling you the truth about Trump and about Fox News and about the MAGA hat wearers and Trump, I personally think that the Japheth man himself, especially the American Japheth man, has done something particularly evil in the eyes of God. That's another event. So, all right, so you got those things, right? You understand the symptoms of don't be afraid, don't buy online products trying to get healed, and understand the respiratory disease. And then the other thing is that you need to learn to pray. And I'll say this, that our ministry will remain open. No, we are. We're going to tell coronavirus, whoever he is, she is, I don't know if it's a man or a woman these days, that virus. But we ain't going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere. We've been getting ready for you for the last 2.5 years. It's called the Joseph Zaphnap Pioneer House Fund, and we've been teaching the trust in the Lord for the last 13 years. We ain't going nowhere. At any rate, everybody, I'm James David Manning. I'm the Lord's servant. This is a bit of a news blog we do, looking at spiritual wickedness in high places for the most part, making some observations about it and giving people a biblical foundation to the way of interpreting, rather than have Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Janine Pirro or Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon, Rush Limbaugh interpret what's going on in the world. You come to me and I'll tell you based on what the Word of God says. They'll just give you their worldly, sinful view. But the Manning Report will tell you what God has said, whether to say yea or nay, whether to go or to stay. You'll be led by the word of Almighty God. Come to the Manning Report on a daily basis to interpret the spiritual wickedness in high places, because there's plenty of it that's going on. And so I'm the Lord's servant, James David Righteous Rebel Manning, and I'm here to serve you with news and information.